Off right. Here's the World of Warcraft Deep Dive.
Here we go. Here we go, boys. Here we go. Oh, it's Ian.
Good afternoon, BlizzCon.
What? So look at that fucking shirt,
So
man.
good to be back. Whether you are here in the arena with me right in front of me, whether you're watching from elsewhere in the halls, whether you're joining us from the comfort of your home, thank you for taking the time to join me for this deeper, closer look at what's coming next in the War Within.
We're here.
I love you too. I love you, BlizzCon. So Morgan and Maria gave you kind of a sneak peek at some of what's coming. Today I want to spend a bit more time giving you more information on the core features of War Within,
Nice.
as well as a few things that didn't get mentioned at all yesterday.
Oh, crap. We're
So-
getting new things, boys.
Beginning, just a little teaser there. So to begin, let's talk delves.
Okay.
So
I'm here.
what is a delve? As you heard yesterday, delves are these quick bite-sized epic adventures for flexible size groups, for either solo or with up to 5 players. They are role agnostic, so it doesn't matter if you're a couple DPS, if you're a healer and a tank, if you're a solo healer, we're gonna make it work. We're gonna meet you where you are, how you want to play. Delves are a new endgame pillar. This is a permanent addition to World of Warcraft going forward and represents kind of a capstone to the outdoor world experience. We've had dungeons, we've had raids, we've had organized PvP, and I think we've had some stuff for outdoor world players to dabble in. But if you wanted progression, if you wanted goals, if you wanted a deeper, more structured experience, frankly, we were letting you down.
Yep.
We want to change that. That's
Good.
what delves represent in World
Good.
of Warcraft.
Big W. Big W.
So structuring this, really we want to approach it as something that you are going to be engaging in all season long with variety and flexibility in how you approach it, and the replayability of the content is kind of a mainstay of what it's all about. But also want to build in progression. And I think if you're an outdoor world focused player, a lot of the time it's just about kind of spending your time doing a thing, going to a place, completing an event, but there aren't necessarily goals to work towards. There aren't necessarily reasons to be excited about getting an item upgrade because it's going to let you do something you haven't been able to do before. A difficulty progression built into delves is going to enable us to offer that.
Oh, shit. That's nice. So
Now,
you can go
there's a lot of
more
lessons
difficult.
we've learned over the years from building this type of content, whether it was Torghast in Shadowlands, Island Expeditions, scenarios, you can throw in horrific visions in that list. We've learned a lot about
Bring
how
back
to tune
visions.
these sorts of experiences, how to design them for flexible scaling groups of different sizes, of different role compositions, about what's fun and what isn't. But we've also learned, based on your feedback, about what not to do in some cases, in terms of how we structure it, how we present it. I think a key aspect of saying this is an endgame pillar is that it's an offering in parallel to the others, to dungeons, to raids. If you want to do this, if this is your jam, if this is your type of gameplay, we're there for you, and we want this to be as deep as you want it to be. If you're happy running Mythic Plus and you just want to focus on that, we're not looking to add another item to the checklist of things you feel you have to do to compete. It's an alternative. Unlike Torghast, which is something that we did kind of say, everyone has to do this, whether you like it or not, whether you'd rather do something else
change.
or not. That gets
Good
back
change.
to some of the philosophies that Morgan touched on yesterday and how we're approaching designing and evolving World of Warcraft. We want to meet you where you are. We want to respect your time. We want to offer you the ability
Fucking
to choose how
W,
you want to
bro.
spend that time each day, each night in Azeroth.
Easy W's. Holy shit. That's so big. So good. Oh, it's
So
preach.
in terms of the character of delves and what a specific one will be like, the vibe here is about unraveling mysteries, it's about exploring, it's about feeling like an extension, a seamless extension of the outdoor world experience. These are not dungeons. Every dungeon is ultimately about killing a series of bosses or boss-like encounters, and the dungeon is over when you kill the final baddest boss at the end of the dungeon. And that's kind of the structure that they all have to conform to. As much as we try to vary the formula a bit, that's pretty much what they're going to be.
Yeah.
In the outdoor world, things are a bit different. We can, break some more of the rules. And really, at the end of the day, the one consistent thing about delves is that they're all going to end with a room full of treasure. Some of those will
Nice.
have a final boss guardian in front of them. Others, you may be just exploring, traversing the delve, flipping switches, solving a puzzle, defeating lieutenants, gathering things that you need to open the vault door. We can vary the gameplay, we can vary the feel of the experience.
I like this.
These are going to be instanced experiences, but they are seamless. When you walk up to, this, as I'll show in a second, fog door at the entrance to a
They
cave,
already
at the
have
entrance to
footage
a
of this?
structure, you're just going to walk in, no loading screen, and now you're in a delve. We want to make sure this really feels like part of and an extension of the outdoor world.
Holy shit! Wow.
Now, as part of an in-game pillar, that means we're going to tie this into seasons. So, as well as a narrative progression over the course of a given season, there will be increasing rewards, increasing difficulty, and a change of pace, whether you're in Season 1 of War Within, Season 2, and so forth. Part of that is going to be the NPC companion that will be accompanying you on your adventures.
Yep.
The Season 1 companion, as we mentioned yesterday, is our good friend, Bran Bronzebeard. Now, what does this mean? What does a companion mean in practice? Well, it's a few things. One, it's definitely a narrative hook. It gives us a chance to help give context for your adventures, kind of narrate what you're going through. But also, it's a chance to kind of play with the mechanics and complement your play style.
Yeah.
As Bran adventures with you, you might find some gear for Bran. You might be able to gear Bran up. You'll be able to spec him and customize his abilities to complement what you or your friends are bringing to the group, whether you want more survivability, whether you want help with someone to tank, whether you want more control. This can help us balance the experience as well and give you another vector for your progression over the course of the journey.
Yeah.
Now, I know this has kind of been very high level. I want to just give a couple of specific examples as kind of a day in the life of someone jumping into delves in War Within.
Okay.
So let's say you are
This is me, by the way.
journeying across the Isle of Dorne and its pastoral beauty, and you come across this structure with that fog door set into it, and you decide to venture in. So as you venture in, you are, as I mentioned, seamlessly in the delve, and you will find, just huddled inside the entrance, a group of expedition scouts who have come to this place. They've heard reports of great secrets, great treasures, powerful relics stored within, but they've been unable to proceed further because they tell you, and Bran is among them, mind you, they tell you this place, there's an unnatural, there's a disturbing darkness that has settled over this entire vault, and we can't proceed. Fortunately, they have in their possession a relic that they have brought that is an enchanted candle that can light the way. It has a little light radius around it. If you think back to the Vault of the Warden's dungeon, if you remember that in Legion, what the basement was like, where it really felt like just like a dark, scary place, but you could have this beacon in the darkness to guide your way. You have one of those. But, they tell you, it has very limited fuel. They dare not proceed on their own because they worry they're just going to get trapped in the darkness and destroyed by the terrors within. But you, of course, being the champion who's come along, you're up to the task. So you take that candle with its light radius that will begin to shrink progressively as your limited fuel burns, and you take some steps into the delve. Now, who do you find in here? Well, as it happens, you run across fellows like this guy. More jacked than your average kobold, but there's a lot of kobolds in here. And as you know, as any World of Warcraft player knows, where you find kobolds, you're going to find candles.
Yep.
And this guy's going to put up a fight, but it being World of Warcraft and all, you're going to take his candle. And you're going to take the candles of his allies and his brethren. And, that will help fuel this magic light that you have, help keep the light burning so that you can traverse the entire delve, defeat a couple of lieutenant-type enemies, bosses, solve a puzzle or two, and at the end, you make your way into the vault room that Bran is able to open once you bring him there, and you find this mock-up work in progress of a treasure room, heaping with riches, treasure chests of various shapes and sizes. Some of the smaller ones, you can just walk up and open, collect a range of items, currency, rewards, you name it. But you'll find a couple of extra large, resplendent chests in this room. Those may require special keys to open. Now, those keys you would obtain from doing kind of outdoor content, weekly quests. They're a bit more limited in how you can get them, but also allow us to offer and pace out the best rewards They're on par with some other endgame content to make sure it's not infinitely grindable or anything like that, but it's an extension of your outdoor world loop if this is your playstyle.
Yeah, so far I like this.
Let's say you come back to the same delve on another day. You might find that there isn't a magical darkness settled over the place. Instead, there are Earthen locked in battle with kobolds, and you can help turn the tide of that fight as you work your way through, dealing with some different challenges along the way. Variety, replayability, lots of layers to the experience. Now, so you venture back out into the zone, heading off to a different corner of it, and you come across this cave surrounded by mushrooms. It's known in legends as fungal folly. Now, maybe not being the wisest adventurer, that sounds like a great place to enter, so you take a few steps forward. In here, you might find an environment where, whether it's due to unusual ores or whatever in the walls, the rules of gravity are a bit topsy-turvy. And you'll find mushrooms scattered around the cave that you can use as basically jump pads to help navigate the environment, to skip over enemies you want to avoid, to reach high up ledges that you couldn't otherwise get to.
Jumping puzzles and shit.
Just trying to get the idea, like, this is more the world as toy vibe that we try to play with when we're creating outdoor events, outdoor spaces. These are not mechanics you'd necessarily find in a dungeon, but I think the team really is unshackled, is freed to explore a much wider array of gameplay when we're building delves.
I approve of all of this.
So let's talk a bit more about the loot. So actually, before we talk about the loot, these are the 12 delves that we currently have planned, scattered throughout the 4 zones, each themed around the ecologies, each themed around the settings that you're going to find. Now, some of the attentive among you may be saying, wait a minute, Morgan's slide said there were 13 delves yesterday. He might be right, but there also might be a secret delve that you have to explore a bit more to discover that awaits you.
Okay.
So yeah, loot. Part of being a seasonal pillar means going to the Great Vault every week and getting to share in that disappointment that your raiding and dungeon playing brethren have also had the pleasure to enjoy. We just want to make sure you don't feel left out. So you're welcome. So you'll note, this isn't a delves row, this is a world row. And really that is enshrining these 3 PvE pillars: raids, dungeons, world. You'll be able to unlock some of these slots doing select outdoor world activities, as well as, of course, delves with better rewards from higher difficulty delves. Our thinking in terms of the rewards here, this is all subject to tuning, is that this should reach to, let's say, end boss heroic raid, mythic 10 to 15 type range, accessible just via solo progression. Far better loot than you've ever been able to get before.
That's fucking good for outdoor players. Holy shit.
And now, I'm sure this is, I know this is the delve section, but I'm sure there's folks looking at this and being like, wait a minute, what about the PvP row?
Yeah, what about the PvP row?
Don't worry, we got you. We are removing the PvP row from the vault. We're doing that based largely on feedback that we've heard that randomness and PvP gearing maybe are not the best combination.
No.
I know it took a few years to get that message through to us.
Good.
So the way this is going to work is instead, you're going to get a whole lot more conquest. You're going to gear up at the same rate overall, but you will have complete control over your gearing path, just spending your conquest on the items that you want. With easier catch-up if you come in late in the season, you don't have to worry about having missed certain vault weeks. Also, if you're someone who PvPs a lot and you raid, you don't have the awkward choice of that raid trinket versus the PvP item that's going to help your arena partners. So
I think this is fucking huge W, bro. Huge. This is huge.
Hopefully, just good news for everyone.
Yep.
Now, aside from, just power, also, you get silly hats.
What the fuck?
Nothing more to say here. These just...
Look at that shit, bro. Look at the transmog from this.
These are just a few examples of the array of cosmetic rewards that will be exclusive to delves, reflecting the varied ecologies and environments you're going to be facing. So, silly hats, World of Warcraft. Less silly, just as, let's say, Mythic Plus players have amounts that they can earn over the course of a given season. This customizable flying mount will be exclusively available through thorough completion of the delve experience. You'll note the customizability of it. This will be customizable the same way you can customize your current dragon riding drakes at the rostrum. Just modularly.
Wow. Wow. Holy crap. Dude, this is cool as shit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I love our artists.
We all do.
Okay,
Here we go.
Up next.
This is the one. This is the one.
Warbands.
This is the one, boys.
I feel like I could probably just save 10 minutes of this panel by just saying account-wide everything and like just click through the next slides. But
Okay.
kind of that. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but turns out y'all play a lot of alts.
Yep.
I'm sure that actually the number of characters per person in this room in particular is like some insane average. But the average WoW player today plays multiple characters. The two-thirds of players who have a level 70 have multiple level 70s. Half of players have 3 or more. Most people are playing multiple characters a week.
Yep.
And that's not something the game, it's no secret, has always done the best job of supporting. Now, part of that is because World of Warcraft 20 years ago was built with very different assumptions. And I both mean design-wise, but actually engineering-wise as well. The infrastructure and the architecture that was built. Back then, it took hundreds of hours to level a single character, of course, and playing alt seriously was far, far from the norm. But we've kind of inherited, we have been working with those foundations to this day. And so when we get requests for them, when we talk about alt friendliness, we try to do it, but we're often we're swimming upstream, given the underpinnings of a system that were never designed for this. And that's why you get some, frankly, pretty clunky solutions. Like, well, if you want to transfer this currency to your alt, go to a vendor and spend some to buy a different box that contains account-bound currency that you can then mail to yourself, log out, log back in, take the box out of your mailbox, and open it on your alt. Congratulations, you have moved 300 supplies.
So that's why they did it.
Elegant design, ladies and gentlemen. What if we didn't have to do that? So at its core, Warbands is, what if we just rebuilt those foundations and created a new future, both for the things we want to offer today and the things we'll be able to in the future, so we're not fighting against the nature of the system, but instead it complements what we want to do.
Yeah.
Now the focus here is really making it convenient, removing barriers, removing awkwardness in playing alts. We don't want to actively necessarily encourage it. People already want to do it if they do it. One thing the system is not going to be is something that awards you power or makes your main more effective because you have done things on other characters or anything along those lines. If you want to play alts, do so. If you just love focusing on a single character, that shouldn't feel wrong either.
I think that's a good thing.
Now let's talk about some examples. Okay, so I'm going to run through these pretty quickly. They're mostly fairly straightforward. It's a bank. It's an account-wide bank. Thankfully, hopefully, you should never again have to mail something to yourself. You also might notice, and so this is giant, lots of storage, extra tabs that can be purchased on the right-hand side, so multiple tabs of these. You can organize them as you want. The very observant, the eagle-eyed, will notice a little checkbox mentioning reagents. If you deposit reagents here, you can craft from the account-wide storage on any of your characters.
Bro, this is a huge change, like a fucking huge one.
Maybe a little new thing.
With gold,
something
there it
that
goes.
you might put in this account-wide storage are the ability we will now have to create war-bound items that are war-bound until equipped. You might get an item that you can't sell in the auction house or trade, but that you can give to any of your other characters for their use.
Dude, so you're playing on an alt, this super cool weapon drops, but it's for another alt. You have
These items would drop as bonus personal loot from doing a variety of content. It would drop at a slightly lower item level than what that content would normally give you. Again, we want to make sure the right way to play is not, playing on multiple characters to funnel loot to your main, to gear up your main faster, but just easy potential hand-me-downs, ways of getting an alt caught up, maybe even an excuse to level an alt if you get a really cool item for a class that you haven't had a chance to get up yet. So just an extra layer here, hopefully, making it easier than ever to progress, to accomplish your goals on multiple characters.
Okay.
All right, now quick rundown of some of the other integrations we have planned. Transmog. Transmog has always been, it's been for a long time an account-wide collection. Key thing here now that really it is being acquired by your warband, That means that now if you were running, let's say, Ulduar on your mage and a pair of plate shoulders drop, you can still add those plate shoulders to your Warband collection.
Good change. Yes, it's personal loot. It is personal loot.
Yeah, self-explanatory. And then, if you log on your warrior later, your warrior can equip them, you're good to go. Hopefully you don't need to feel like you need to refarm the same stuff on as many different armor types
This
anymore.
is so fucking good, man.
Reputations, again, fairly straightforward. In War Within, reputations and renowns will work account-wide. We want to make this as retroactive as possible. That will take some work over time. We're probably going to start with Dragonflight renowns as a focus and a priority and work our way backwards. But going forward, we
this
want
should have been
progress
here
earned on
years ago.
reputations to not really matter which character you're doing it on at the end of the day.
Years
it's the same
ago.
Content, it's the same experience. If you've gained access to some perk or some recipe, having to re-earn it, not terribly compelling.
No, it isn't. It's great that you guys are finally doing this. We've been saying you should do this for years.
Here's a really light example, simple one, just flight paths. As you explore the world, you learn flight paths, you discover flight paths. Is it terribly compelling to have to go back to a spot that you've already been to in multiple characters just to learn a flight path for the 4th time? No. If you have a flight path network unlocked, you have that unlocked across your warband going forward.
Oh, so good. Oh my god, so good, man.
And here's an example of something new, just delves. An example of how having this as a foundation means that we can build new systems to inherently work at an account-wide level, just kind of as part of their DNA. As you are advancing Bran as a companion, as you are empowering him, as you're customizing him, again, logging onto a different character and going back to having a weaker Bran that doesn't offer the tools that you've grown accustomed to, that's more frustrating than fun to re-earn those things. Let's make that progression inherently warband level, inherently account-wide.
Oh, that's so good, though. That is so good.
And achievements. We've had account-wide achievements for a long time. No secret, they have the little blue bar over them, indicating that they function at an account-wide level. What Warbands allows us to do is kind of invert that paradigm and change the vast majority of our achievements to be account-wide, to have that actually be the new default. So if you do part of this PvP or crafting or other achievement on one character, part of it on another, your warband can earn the achievement. Once your warband earns it, you've earned it. Again, you, the player, are doing the thing.
Dude, this is going to be huge for stuff like raiding, I think, as well, if it counts towards raiding.
Oh yeah, and then this...
But I do think this will be really good. Oh. Whoa, bro, look at this new lock-in screen.
To kind of signal this shift up front, there's no mechanical functionality here, but just in terms of presentation, what you'll see when you log into World of Warcraft with multiple characters is a selection of your favorite characters huddled around a campfire or another setting. You'll still have your full list accessible, but we want to make it clear that you, the player, have this cast of characters that if you want to dress them all up in consistent transmogs, go wild. One thing you might note here, if you're very eagle-eyed, also, by the way, if you're very eagle-eyed, don't read too much into things like the evoker wearing leather. That's just, it's internal mock-ups. We're not changing anything crazy there.
What about the level 13 for the evoker?
Sorry. But you will note that the evoker is level 13. That's going to be a thing that's possible because they'll start at level 10. But because Dragonflight's going to be the new leveling expansion, by the way, going forward.
What did I say? What did I say?
One thing you might notice is there isn't really much here about realm selection. Warbands are a realm-agnostic, faction-agnostic feature. You will just see all your characters here. If they're on different servers, we'll make it clear that they're on different servers.
Man, I think
but
like
you shouldn't
Blizzard.
have to go to the change realm screen and swap around. They're just all here.
Yep. That's really good.
Okay. Hero talents. So, at their core, this is a chance for us, as we continue to evolve and advance our class system, to explore some deeper class fantasies, to look at iconic archetypes like the Farseer.
This is actually one of the ones I was most excited for.
Or others, often inspired by major heroes in the Warcraft universe, other times by fantasies that we've heard are really resonant with players, and focus the continued expansion of our classes in that space. Now, Morgan said this yesterday, just to restate, this is a completely flexible system. It's as flexible as your current talents and specs. Nothing like covenants or anything like that. Anytime you could change your talents today, you can change your hero spec, you can swap around your hero talents. They're just talents.
Okay.
Now, some of our goals here, of course, we want to offer progression, but we want to do so, frankly, while managing complexity to a certain extent. When we started planning for War Within, we knew, all right, we're going to raise the level cap by 10. 10 new levels means 10 new talent points. The kind of default option for us would have been to take the existing class and spec trees and just add a couple more rows to each of them, add new points to spend. But we've been down that path before. We know exactly where that leads 15 years ago. There's a tremendous amount, there's an insane amount of like multiplicative combinatoric complexity from adding those additional options.
It's a bunch of big
and it
words.
also destroys some carefully constructed choices that are really successful that we've just built up in Dragonflight today, where you can't quite have all of these things and need to pick one or the other. Suddenly, when you can get all of them, it can lead towards homogeneity as well. So this approach allows us to both explore deeper class fantasy while focusing the decision space in a way that offers power without that excessive complexity. So the way it's generally going to look is a third talent tree. Again, as mentioned yesterday, at the center of your screen, you have class, you have talent, and in the middle, you have hero talents. You'll note, so there are 10 nodes. There's an initial node that you get as a starter node at the top that you'll get initially when you unlock the system at 71, and then 10 more nodes to unlock. You will get all of them on the way to 80. At level 80, you will have this fully unlocked, similar to Legion artifacts, let's say. So you don't have to agonize over where you're placing any choice along the way. Now, the choices that you will make are which hero spec do you want active? And also, there will be choice nodes within the trees, just as the class trees and the talent and the spec trees currently have, which you can toggle, adding quite a few permutations to the system as a whole. If you want, as a kind of simpler collapsed view, once you've hit max level, you can just condense it down to only show the choice nodes for easy swapping back and forth to customize your spec for whatever activity.
This is really cool, actually.
Now, I want to take a little bit of time to quickly walk through a couple of trees to give a sense of the sorts of things you might find in here. Again, all of this is subject to change.
This is good.
All subject to iteration and the extensive feedback we know we're going to get. I'm going to use druids a lot as an example here. I'm going to focus on the case of a balanced druid. Part of why the team
warlocks?
Part of why the team starts with druids is because y'all are complicated. We figure there's 4 specs, 3 roles. We figure let's try some of the hardest cases first when proving out a design. It's nothing against the mages, warlocks, paladins, etc. But there's a reason why you probably tend to see more druid examples.
It's fine. You have your favorite children.
We figure if we can make it work for druids, the rest will be okay.
Druids.
The 2 options available to a balanced druid are this Keeper of the Grove tree and Elun's Chosen. Keeper of the Grove is available to balance and restoration. Elun's Chosen is available to balance and guardian. The former focuses on calling the forest to your aid, on summon treants, and augmenting their abilities and what using that cooldown means for your gameplay. Elun's Chosen focuses on augmenting your lunar abilities, many of the arcane damage, moon-themed abilities for both specs. So let's look at the Keeper of the Grove tree first.
Okay.
The first node that you're going to get as you just opt in is just kind of a baseline improvement to your throughput while treants are out across the board.
Wow.
This just kind of emphasizes thematically what this tree is about and makes pushing that button, having the treants out.
It's a lot of extra power, isn't it?
In every regard. Some of the nodes in these trees are just going to be simple, straightforward passives. Not everything is going to double and triple down on the same treant ability. Some will, like this, regardless of what spec you are, make your treants add additional damage. Oh, by the way, if anyone's worried, wait a minute, but what about the auto taunt? That's a mess in dungeons. We'll let you opt out of that. Don't worry. Or passives could just augment your abilities, your resource pool, and just make you a better druid. An example of choice node, again, this can be about doubling down on and getting more out of having the treants active. Or maybe you really don't want all of your eggs in that basket. Even though you are going into this tree, you want the treants to be important to you. You don't want 100% of your throughput to be focused in that window. You'd rather just have some baseline improvements to all of your abilities, or to some of your core abilities. This is one of the simpler choices available, but the idea is 4 different opportunities to nudge your gameplay in one direction or another within this tree. A capstone talent, again, is often likely to double down on and amplify what the initial point was, just reinforcing that having the treants out is going to be a peak, a spike in your potential, something that you're going to plan around, and just amplify the overall benefits that you're achieving.
I like how it's
Pivoting to Elun's Chosen. Again, this is lunar themed and shared with Guardian Druids.
Yeah, I'll move my camera the whole time, don't worry,
The
guys.
first point here is going to call out 3 specific signature abilities: 2 balance, 1 Guardian, and make them meaningfully more impactful to your gameplay. If you're a Guardian Druid, for example, you might read this and realize that like Lunar Beam is going to become a pretty powerful.
I'll talk about what I think of this later.
You have a big pull going on. You're leeching a lot of damage back from what you're doing. This is now something that you can really count on and plan around as you approach your gameplay. On the Moonkid side, this of course adds an extra layer to planning and throughput in your rotation. Noting a couple of these things that we're modifying, maybe deeper optional talents in your existing spec trees. We also, where we can, want to offer ways to make sure that you can trigger those effects, even if you don't have the baseline talent, though you'll probably want to as well. So this talent just has Fury of Elune triggered as you're doing your regular rotation when you Moonfire, both just naturally. It's a powerful effect that's going to fire more frequently.
I'll be here.
But also, to the extent that the rest of the Elune's Chosen tree is tying into it, you'll get those benefits as well. A couple of more passive examples here. Again, just doubling down on magnifying your arcane lunar throughput, and a final capstone ability for this tree that is further reinforcing these core that have already been augmented.
I really like this.
Leave this slide up for a while. These are our current plans for all 39 of the hero specs, so 1 per current specialization. There's some cool fantasies here to explore.
Soul Harvester, Howlpolar,
really
Diabolist.
To hear community feedback on all these, which are exciting, which are most resonant, which sound, frankly, maybe a bit lame. Are there any that you hoped you'd see on here that you're not seeing on here? We are, well underway building these out.
Dude, I like the Warlock ones. I like the sound of it.
Pivot on a lot of these if there's something the community is really excited about. I want to triple super underscore. The example talents I just gave are work in progress, very subject to change. Probably no part of the game is more prone to iteration, and for no part of the game is the community input more essential than class design, spec design. To that end, when we move into our alpha, probably in the spring, we want to have as many, if not all of these hero specs playable from the start.
Chrono Warden.
So that we have the entire alpha and beta window to iterate on them, to replace the things that aren't working, to dial them all in to where everyone's going to be excited about what they're getting in War Within. It's a long road ahead. We can't wait to share that journey with you and really just collaborate, discuss back and forth every step of the way.
W's all around, bro. What is Blizzard on? What the fuck did they eat? They're just posting W's. Here we go.
Some other stuff. Some you've heard about, some you haven't. First off, Aladrace, you get to be an Earthen. Awesome blinged out dwarves, or maybe not so blinged out if you want to customize them differently. These are going to be earned just by playing through the War Within campaign fully. There's no rep to grind here, nothing else beyond that. You are
nice. They're learning.
You are meeting the Earthen as, it's a first contact in essence. You're going to learn about the nature of their problems, the nature of their culture. You're going to work with them to overcome those problems, win their trust. And at the end of that journey, it will make sense. It will be a natural next step for them to lend you their aid and join you as either Horde or Alliance. So yes, Horde dwarves.
That's good. This is good.
We haven't yet finalized what the racial abilities are going to be, but the available classes, 10 out of the 13 available classes. Everything but Druid, Demon Hunter, and Evoker. Now on the right side here, you see a concept of the Heritage Armor you'll be able to earn from leveling.
That is a unit of an armor though, isn't it?
Right, Dynamic Flight.
Yeah, bitch. Let's go.
So it was obvious very early on in Dragonflight, probably before Dragonflight even released in beta, that we could never go back to how it used to be.
No.
Honestly, we hoped that would be the outcome. We hoped the feedback would be, this is so awesome, we just want this to be how flying works forever.
Yes.
But we immediately began, making plans for what that would mean, because, it's the only way to go. And so, yeah, dragon riding is going to become the default, no longer just dragons, but dynamic flight now in War Within and beyond.
Yes.
We want to make sure. Oh, weird. I meant to have 2 mounts here, but I only see ashes on the right. But anyway.
Oh, crap.
The key point being,
it's all
we want
mounts
to
now.
expand this to the broader array of mounts that you have available. I think the only downside of dragon riding, as it exists today, is that you don't have much reason to use so many of the mounts that are your favorites visually, aesthetically, that you've earned and done so much to collect. You want to make sure that as much of your collection is viable as possible. So not every single flying mount is going to be able to support dynamic flight. There's some animation logistics to work with there, but as many as we can. It's a 3-digit number. We want a very wide array of mounts being able to just fly the way you've always enjoyed with your dragons.
This is good.
And just to clarify, like, this is the future of flying. So everywhere that you can fly today, you'll be able to dynamically fly or
the whole world.
ride.
There you go. Someone in chat said it's everywhere.
In fact, not just in the War Within. A little sneak peek. I think in our upcoming 10.2.5 update, you'll be able to drag and ride in Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor, Northrend, Outland, you name it.
Clap, 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 boys.
We also understand there are some folks, for accessibility reasons, personal preference reasons, maybe you just like being able to AFK in midair, that dragon riding isn't your favorite. We don't want to take anything away. We want to let all these mounts that can currently do the old school flying mode toggle between dragon riding or let's call it TBC flying. Up to you, whatever you prefer.
Just toggle it. Wait, what? You can literally just toggle it on and off?
And again, to be clear, dynamic flight will be available from the very start when you go to Khazalgar and the Isle of Dorn, just as it was in Dragonflight.
Nice, nice.
Old school TBC flying, Pathfinder style, will not be available right away, but it will be unlocked shortly after reaching max level with no reputation grind requirements. Just play through the campaign, explore the continents, then you can fly that way as well.
Oh, this is music to my ears.
The existing dragon riding glyph system in the Dragon Isles, we want to pivot that to a bit more of something that's evergreen. Some of those unlocked traits may change to only work within the Dragon Isles. Others that are more essential to just the experience feeling good, like vigor increases, regenerates, the active abilities, are just going to be things that you will inherently get as you earn dynamic flight and level up naturally. We don't want down the line players to feel like they have to go back to an old expansion and fly around and collect a bunch of glyphs just to be able to explore the new expansion. And in that vein, this is going to be the new default for leveling players. I mentioned earlier, when War Within comes out, instead of BFA, Dragonflight will be the new leveling experience that you merge into as a new player after you leave Exile's Reach. And so you're going to get dragon riding very early in that experience. As you just level up, gain player levels, you will improve your flight ability and get all the vigor perks and everything else that everyone has come to expect. And that's just going to be how the game works as a baseline. This is what flight is now.
I love this. So good.
Don't worry, PvPers, we haven't forgot you.
New battleground.
This is long overdue. We should have been doing this earlier. So there's a new battleground coming in War Within. It is a 10v10 map set in the Ringing Deeps. This is inspired by Silver Shard Mines with a few twists. The Ringing Deeps are a place that's full of natural resources, that's very sort of thing that the Horn Alliance will be likely to skirmish over. I'm going to show you a very rough, early, kind of like top-down mock-up of the layout here. The idea is, unlike Silver Shard Mines, which is radial symmetry, this is more mirrored and reflects the two sides trying to both push their own minecarts to collect resources while also fighting over a pivotal central control point that's going to change the outcome.
Oh, there's going to be a fuckload of fighting there in the middle, bro.
The team has actually been playtesting internally a bunch over the last couple of weeks, having a blast with. When we make battleground maps, we don't really artify them. We keep them really rough, which is why I don't have any good images to show just yet, because it really is all about the layout. There's no point making it look pretty if the spacing isn't correct, if the exact paths aren't correct. That's going to be the next step. Can't wait to get this in front of everybody to start testing in alpha and beyond. And this isn't just a one-off. We want to keep adding new Battleground maps going forward. This is an essential part of the game.
They're finally remembering they have PvP in this game.
And I mentioned 10v10, but we are just about to undertake a little 8v8 solo queue RBG experiment in 10.2 in a week or two. So depending on how that goes, you may be experiencing this one 8v8 as well. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Otherwise, we have a few ongoing interface updates that we're continuing to work on. In Dragonflight, we overhauled the HUD, the action bars, the unit frames, the baseline UI experience.
I actually use the default one now.
That was just the beginning. This is something we want to continue chipping away at, updating different pieces of the UI to be more streamlined, better reflective of the modern gameplay experience.
Yep.
So just a couple of examples here. So the spellbook, we are looking to modernize, update, actually
this is so much better.
More than like a 1024 by 768 monitor resolution.
Oh, this is so much better.
Ideally, you're not going to have to, flip through multiple pages to find some ability that's not on your action bars.
Yep.
Also, we're combining this with our talent screen. If you look at the tabs at the bottom, you have spec, talents, and spells all in one place. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for all the things that your character has available, rather than having two separate windows that you need to move between.
This is really nice. It looks clean. It's purposeful. It makes sense. Love it.
Some light updates here. I think improving the overall aesthetic of the quest log, the quest window. If this is harder to show off just in a single screenshot, but we are adding a bunch of filters to allow you to hide and show different objectives, to see more quests available at once, to filter your log for the things you care about most. We also have a full pass in progress on our quest iconography to make it easier to differentiate between daily and weekly quests and remove our reliance on just shades of color as much as we do, which really it is a color blindness issue for the range of quest bangs where the only difference is what color it is. And again, this is just a couple of examples of ongoing efforts. This is a project that will never be done. We're just going to continue improving and updating different aspects of the UI as we go.
Yeah.
Yes. So this one basically speaks for itself. I've mentioned earlier, your warband is a cross-realm construct. Increasingly, so many of the activities that players engage in socially span multiple realms. You have a raid group, you have a Mythic Plus group that you run with, group that you PvP with, but you can't be in the same guild together. Not any longer. That's a thing that will change when War Within comes out. Apply, recruit. Server shouldn't matter when it comes to joining a guild, when it comes to being in a guild, when it comes to accessing
servers are going to be removed. They're going to remove servers very soon. They're removing it already in terms of application.
People may be wondering, wait a minute, what does that mean if now guilds are cross-realm? What about Mythic raiding? If your guild is cross-realm and your guild wants to raid Mythic, you should be able to do that day one. So no more realm restrictions there.
Easy.
The Hall of Fame will still exist, just kind of as a memorial of accomplishment, but it's not going to be tied to unlocking anything anymore. That's just there day one. And really, just philosophically, this is another step towards one of our goals of just tearing down barriers, making the game as social as possible, making it as easy as possible to play with who you want to play with, regardless of your server, regardless of your faction. As much as possible, if you want to play WoW with somebody, let's make that happen.
I approve of this. This basically removes all small servers and shit.
That brings us to the end of this whirlwind tour / deep dive of War Within features. I know there's still a bunch of questions, a bunch more information to share. Can't wait to do that in the coming days and weeks. But to begin, I'd like to invite everybody, if you have questions, if you're here at BlizzCon, go to the Darkmoon Fair in Hall D. You can drop off questions there. If you're going online, you can go to the WoW or WoW Classic subreddits or our official forums and either ask your questions there or upvote others. This coming week, when we get back to the office, we're going to huddle, review the top questions, and record streams for both Classic and for War Within, addressing the top questions to try to get as much information out there as possible.
Yeah.
So.
Really good. Really fucking good.
Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to begin this journey together with you. Can't wait for the war within. Enjoy the rest of BlizzCon. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. I love you all.
Ian, I can speak for everyone. When this started, love was a strong word for me. Like, when you said, I love you, BlizzCon, I was like, I kind of like you. You know, let's be friends. But after this, yeah, Ian, the love is mutual. I feel it too, bro. I feel it too. Everything he said here, in my opinion, is a giant W. Like, massive W's all around. I specifically loved, and I think this was sort of a problem because when they announced the Euro talents, I saw a bunch of people in chat going, oh my god, what about button bloat? What's going to happen? How many buttons are going to get? They made it, like he said it 3 or 4 times here. There is no, like, the Euro talents aren't going to add new buttons to your bar. They are specifically designed to augment your already existing buttons. So if in the past a button would have done X, if you have a specific talent, the button is now also going to do Y. So it will do X and Y, or maybe it will change it from not doing X and instead doing Y. You're just changing your existing buttons to suit whatever playstyle you have now. I imagine for stuff like Warlocks, it's going to be very much, if you're an Affliction Warlock, one of your Euro talents or one of your Euro trees is going to be much more single focused, and another one might be much more AoE focused, and then between them there'll be cleave specs and cleave builds that you can do. So it's just all around going to be a way to further specialize depending on what it is that you're going to be doing in a specific dungeon or raid, which I think is just an awesome addition to the game. Trio, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Adam, thanks for the follow. Really appreciate that. And then Darth Legend, 3 months part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it sounds like glyphs almost. And it sounds like the perfect use case for talents. You know, multiple talents. This sounds like a very good use case for it, because now you can start to focus on some of the inherent weaknesses of certain classes without almost breaking the class. Like, without forcing the class to somehow, you know, have to adapt in some wild, weird way. You can just supplement whatever that class is doing well or whatever it isn't doing well. Guess he's relieved he hasn't to shoulder the shit they had to do under Activision anymore. Well, we'll see, right? This is a whole new thing. They're only now sort of out of the hands of Activision. So I think there's still a lot that needs to happen there. Overall, the thing that excites me most is the tech upgrades. That's kind of the thing that I'm most excited for, because the Warband, the fact that Warbands now exist, and they did say they basically redesigned the engine from the ground up to remove all of the limitations that they used to have. Dude, it means that there may be changes coming to World of Warcraft and how the, like, servers act much more, like, much faster now than what it used to be in the past. That is the older Blizzard with Mason and Head. Welcome to Real WoW Universe. Roll, yeah, pretty much. I want a Shadow Flame Eurolock. I'm not sure if you'd be able to do that, but hey, Will Bowman, how you doing, bro?